Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I am Sarah Troy, your host, and my guest today is Zach Smith. We're going to be talking about basically trusting yourself in the path to personal growth and authentically expressing your unique gifts. Well, what is his gift? He says that his why comes from nearly 20 years of deep learning, personal growth, and navigating the highs of lows of both life and business. He now feels ready and called to share parts of his story. What he offers is his awareness, the inner compass guiding him, and the next best choice, and the wisdom that comes through only lived experience. He believes in the power of sharing, not as answers, but as reminders that in our own lives, the journey never really ends. The hardships, the detours, the moments that shake us, they're not obstacles to avoid, but to experience, to be lived through, and learn from. Trusting yourself on a path to personal growth and authenticity, expressing your unique gifts. If you have a point of view, you owe it to yourself to follow through and live in congruence. Narratives are constantly swirling around, and it's a test to avoid wasting your time and energy following them. We all have an internal compass that, if ignored, choice after choice, year after year, eventually this world will start to feel ultimately becoming overwhelming. He's learned how to navigate by making lots of mistakes, but also by testing how important trusting our own light. And even in the face of one of the most challenging, complicated industries, aligned and steady actions step by step can lead you up the mountain, where you realize there's yet another mountain and another mountain. Understanding where you find yourself in this process, ultimately having a lot of patience and a critical, timeless skill to fall back on. That sounds absolutely wonderful. I agree with you. Life is about experience. And, this network is called Self-Discovery Wisdom. We're all on a journey to discover who we are, what gift were we given, how do we bring it to the table, and from that we learn to download that wisdom and how to apply it to life. And it's that one step at a time, one experience at a time, that helps us discover who we are, how resilient we are, what gift we are, and how to actually share it out with the world. But sometimes it's a bumpy ride, isn't it, Zach?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Welcome to the show. And, I love the way you met your wife through travel, and you say travel is in your DNA, which I've labeled that as the Zach's travel is in his DNA. But it's not just physical travel, is it? It's the willingness to travel through life and experience everything, mountain after mountain.
Absolutely. It takes courage, I think, to just, keep doubling down on your point of view, taking into account all the information that is coming our way, and using your own emotional and in some ways spiritual guidance about the lessons that you have learned in your life. And the emotions that you experience at different periods because of choices that you've made, I think are wonderful guiding forces. And it does require some reflection and some acceptance and understanding how your own role can lead to those different feelings. And again, you brought up what I spoke about is just having patience, because these
Yes.
things take so long to really emerge. And in some cases, you can go weeks or years even wondering, why isn't this working out?
Mm.
Why? And it just takes time, I think, to really build up the number of experiences and go through different phases of personal development and maturity and have life experiences that bring in new energy and give you real lessons
Yes.
that are vivid and then again making the next best choice is
Mhm.
about as good as we can do, having
And that's it sometimes. But you said a magic word in the Abe said spirituality, which I want to touch on, but also in your paragraph there, awareness. And I think what we learn through having to be patient is to be aware,
yeah,
aware of our surroundings, aware of the impact it's having on ourselves, awareness of what is our inner selves trying to tell us.
that's
And
right.
this is kind of where that spirituality comes in, is that whatever it is, God, universe, source, energy, whatever you wish to call it, but tapping in to
Yeah,
what I call the wisdom, the universal wisdom, and allowing it to speak to your inner self, and then trusting that inner voice, being aware of what it's telling you,
yeah,
because we're taught as human beings to only think. We're not taught to feel the wisdom, feel
yeah,
the knowledge. And I
right.
think that through our journey of life, we, follow expectations and dictations and shoulds and everything else. And then we realize, hell, why do I have to climb another mountain? The
Mhm.
valley is beautiful. Why am I not there?
Mhm.
And that comes through that awareness, doesn't it? Not just the experience, but tapping into that spirit of what is it trying to tell me? And
Yeah,
I don't have to chase another mountain. Maybe it is the valley.
yeah, just being being okay where you find yourself in the
Hmm.
present moment, I think is a uh, number one principle. If you're constantly wishing you were somewhere else right now, or cycling through regret, then you can't accept the present moment.
You're right.
And as someone who has experienced valleys. Yeah, you get
Hmm.
familiar with that valley,
Hmm.
and you can kind of build a little strength around, well, right now there's nothing coming to me, or it doesn't feel wonderful. But again, that's normal. You have to be
Yes.
able to be okay
Hmm.
with a little bit of that emptiness or a little bit of that disorientation. What am I really doing here?
Hmm.
Am I ready to go race up that mountain, or is it better to just kind of
Be still,
be still?
be
And
present, because that being empty means that you're ready to receive,
yeah, that's
right?
right.
It's
That's right.
don't try and fill it up with the expectations, right?
Yeah,
Acknowledge, I am in this crossroads. I'm in this path.
yeah,
By being present with myself, being empty, I'm ready to receive the wisdom that will take me whichever mountain I need to climb.
that's right. Yeah. And yeah, I think we all have these threads of connection,
Hmm.
people that have come into our lives, or um, emotions that came up at different periods of time. And what I find is it's important to really understand that there was purpose in some of
Yes,
those challenges
absolutely.
and those gifts that came along the way.
Hmm.
And knowing that more will emerge, positive, negative, neutral.
Hmm.
And it's really important um, that there is no ultimate destination. There
No.
is just ongoing learning, integrating, and
Hmm.
adapting as we move forward. And those are things that I fall back on as
Hmm.
just to keep me grounded, to keep me centered. I think there's a famous quote about it's important to keep your feet on the ground, but your head in the sky.
Yes,
So
yes.
you need to stay in this state, I believe, where you're open to possibility.
Exactly.
And yet you're grounded in the present
Hmm.
moment. You're grounded in reality.
Talking about destinations, a lot of people are searching, and when I get to that destination, but there is a destination. As I say, there's many chapters in our book of life. And,
Yeah.
the end of a chapter is the end of that destination of that chapter. Now it's a new chapter. Where is it taking you? And the ultimate destination is when we ascend and say goodbye to the body. We
Mm.
don't be in a rush for that. It's like, what is this chapter in this moment? And if it's a rocky one, what am I meant to learn from it? The old adage, it's not happening, whatever happens to you is happening for you.
That's right.
All right. And what do you take from this experience, however rocky or horrific it could be? There's always a self-discovery. Maybe it's your resilience, maybe it's your courage, maybe it's your strength, maybe it's an ability that you never thought you had,
Yeah.
that through the necessity you've had to discover. And it's don't go, why me? It is like, okay, this sucks, but what can I do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think pain can be a great teacher.
Yeah.
Um, f physical challenges,
Mhm.
wonderful practices to fall back on. Um, just taking deep breaths from time to
Yeah.
time
Yes.
can be just so important. I mean, it's also overwhelmingly beautiful in the
Hmm.
world, and um, I find so much inspiration from patterns in life that clearly there's just so much resilience in this world, and we are nature. We are part of that,
Yes.
and we are meant to be resilient
Yes.
and to go through difficulties and then cycle back to probably another difficulty at some point.
Yeah. Which doesn't mean life is all difficult.
No.
The thing is that you treasure those moments of ease because
Yeah.
you know how difficult it was to get there.
Hmm.
And you can make your ease more than your difficulty because that comes with the life experience. You begin to assess the road. I've been down that road before. I'm going to
That's
avoid that
right.
road. I'm going to take a different road, which is easier because why do I need to go down a complicated road to prove what?
Well, it depends. It's certainly yeah, there's an internal, again, I talk about this. Many people have different ways of communicating this same principle. Um, but yeah, that inner compass
Mm,
at being uh, something that you never suppress.
right,
Um, that it doesn't mean you're just constantly using your intuition to take every single step,
right.
but it is critical that you listen to it.
Yes.
And and there are things that people say, and then their actions
Hmm.
are not aligned with
Right.
what they said.
Hmm.
And I think that creates a lot of incongruence
Hmm.
and and can force people to not look within and just
Right.
stay out on the surface and follow what everyone else is doing. But
Right.
what I've come to realize with myself is if if I value, hey, I want a world where we're not trashing it. And
Yes.
I'm walking down the street and I see that there's a tipped over garbage can
Hmm.
and everyone's just passing by and ignoring
Uh-huh.
it. Well, I know that it was there. I could be like everyone else and just
And
pass
walk by.
by.
Hmm.
But that's one step of being misaligned that I don't want to take.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get my hands dirty and clean it up and
You can always
what's
wash your
better.
hands. That's
I
the
can always
thing,
wash
right?
my hands and move
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
and it's just
exactly.
what? It's 2 minutes of my time. It's
It's the
okay.
same. It's the same
Yeah.
as we pass people who are asking for help. And,
That's right.
I don't want to get involved. Well, if we all are saying, I don't want to get involved, then, our community disintegrates.
That's
And
right.
we need to be there for each other. And maybe you can only do a little, maybe it's only acknowledgement, maybe it's this or that, but
Yeah.
it's pay attention.
Pay attention. That's
Pay
right.
attention because you never know. Could that be you?
Yeah.
Right? I never knew in my past I'd be end up living out of my home, having back to technology got stolen. I went down that road. I never knew I would be kind of where am I going to get food today? And it's very humbling, to get there and realize that there are some people that never actually manage to get away from that. That becomes their life. And it's how can we help them? Because we are, first and foremost, we need to help ourselves. It's very hard to help other people unless you know who you are that is helping, because
Right.
you don't want to give the wrong information or do the wrong thing. On the other hand, sometimes just volunteering and helping people along the way helps you discover who you are.
Yeah.
So, it's about that integration, isn't it, of community. Don't walk on by and ignore. Pay attention, back to the awareness.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I find that there's teachers
Yeah.
everywhere and
Mhm.
moments that are teachable
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I find that exciting,
Hmm.
because you never know what what experience can give you that
Yeah.
little bit of reinforcement to
Hmm.
know, wow, this this is helping me put things in perspective.
Yeah.
And
I've
and
never seen it that way. Yeah.
that's why, even just, how a book can come into your life at
Yeah.
the right time, or how when
A
you
person.
share something vulnerable,
Yeah.
uh, someone else is willing to share something vulnerable, and all of a sudden you get common ground,
Yes.
and you're building a relationship, you're building community in a, piece by piece way. So I think that, these are, ways of navigating that give you more inner satisfaction, as well as allow you to be the best version of yourself step by step.
Yeah. And isn't that what we kind of strive for, is being the best version of yourself? I don't like compare or compete. Compete is for
Oh,
competitions. Do not compare. You're unique. We
yeah,
can emulate someone in the way they do things. I would like to adapt to that because it's working for them. Maybe it will work for me, but don't try and become someone else. They're taken,
that's
right?
right.
You're meant to be you. And it's I love the word flawsome.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's a beautiful word, and it's kind of put it along with the Japanese or the Chinese, a broken bowl that they fix with gold. Well, I say it's putting yourself back together piece by piece and
Yeah,
by love,
that's right.
right? And each piece you put back together in the sense of love. And now you have this love bowl that's ready to be filled and runneth over. It's like,
Mhm.
stop looking at, back to that word, perfection.
Yeah,
What is perfection? You have perfect moments in life,
that's right. That's
but
right.
you're not meant to have the perfect life. Nobody does, right? But you cherish those perfect moments.
Mhm.
And I think if we can get away from, well, it's got to be perfect before I do it. No,
Mhm.
do it and you'll perfect it along the way, but you'll still have things to do because that's the nature of life.
100%. And you brought up something that I think is, something that helps me, deal with, adversity or challenges, is, no one's walked in my shoes.
Yeah,
And in each of us right now is a synthesis of all of our choices.
exactly.
And again, we are so lucky to have this awareness that
Mhm.
we can make new choices. We can
Yes.
learn, uh, from our past. We can
Hmm.
learn from the mistakes of others in some
Yes.
cases, and
From our environment, what's
from our
going on.
environment.
Yeah.
And again, it does just take a willingness to look a little deeper, and stay in that present moment. And again, it's never been easy to
Hmm.
But today, I think it is really, really hard with the way in which the smartphone is integrated into our lives. So, um, you know, it's just everywhere, and it's normalized to
Yes,
scroll on that forever, and that creates a pathway in our mind that is addictive, and
yes,
it is one of those things that is I think a barrier to having that present awareness.
I agree. Yeah, it's almost like, the image of the phone with kind of its tentacles coming out and
Yeah,
and consuming you. And we just see
yeah,
people in this mode all the time. And you go to a restaurant and watch people, they're
yeah,
on their phone instead of talking to each other.
yeah,
And we're losing that art of communication, and you're losing yourself with the inner conversation
yeah,
because you're constantly following an outer thread. And we know that outside in living doesn't work. It's the inside living um, that has you see the outside living in a different way or interact in a different way. Everything has its purpose. It's a tool, it's a technology that's very beneficial and helpful, but it wasn't designed to take you over, right? Well,
yeah.
maybe it was.
Well,
But at the same time, resistance, we can resist it, right? And choose, back to choose what
yeah,
we want.
yeah, it's very insidious, and
Mm,
um, I I don't know where it goes, but I would say that one of the things that I believe is occurring is people are experiencing an algorithmic version of serendipity.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh wow, this was meant for me on this
Mm,
screen," but that's not true. That's
mhm.
simply a pattern that can be digitally brought to you to make you
Algorithm, right?
feel that
Yes.
way.
Hmm.
But there's actual real
Yeah.
synchronicity and serendipity out there in the world, but it has a bigger purpose, but you won't get to experience that if you're really just focused on your phone, frankly. So,
Well, I mean, you,
that's
your wife,
another kind of artifact of the world that we're living right now that
exactly.
it just, does make it hard. Yeah.
Serendipitous. That's how you met your wife, right? Both traveling on the same flight. So, again back to being aware.
Yeah.
If you kind of just sat in your seat and ignored everybody around you, it always amazing. I've always been a person to chat with anybody anywhere,
Yeah.
and people come to me and chat, but it always amazes me as there's coffee shops or anywhere else, people become,
Yeah.
guarded, and instead of like, be inquisitive, be curious, be friendly.
Yeah. 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 I think that that's a I can't help it. It's in my nature.
Hmm.
I've been reinforced to live that way,
Hmm.
uh, kind of eyes up.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Oh, I like that. Eyes up. I like that. Yeah. That's a good
but
one. You,
you
you
know,
need to make a banner of that. Eyes up.
yeah. But no doubt there's still, there's work. I am required to spend time in front of a computer, and
Yes.
I need to, use the tools that are available in this world,
To
and
assist you,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
not replace you,
that's
assist you.
that's right.
And for AI or anything replaces us, it's because we've allowed it to be. Allow it to assist you. It's great advantages of that, but don't lose yourself along the way.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Phone technology, anything, um, even living into the expectation of what you should do,
Oh
right?
man.
You are losing yourself in that. But you travel a great deal. I used to travel a great deal, BC, before children, and I went to a number of countries. And for me, there was no phone back then, nothing. So it was literally meeting people wherever. And I had the honor of, of being brought into the homes with a home cooked meal and kind of broken English, communicating with each other. And that to me was heaven. It was just wonderful to experience different cultures. And I
Yeah.
would have every kid coming out of school going traveling for 6 months to a year before they do anything else, because I think that experience takes them out of their little world and their little culture
Yeah.
and kind of shows them the common denominator that we all have in life, but we may live from a different point of view or a different culture. And I think it just broadens the mind. But what's travel done for you?
Oh, well, it's definitely shaped my life. I mean, I haven't really brought this up with anyone, but I think my parents set this all in motion,
Mm-hmm.
frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Are they
uh,
travelers?
well, not really, but they gave me a middle name called Bonaventure. And
Love it.
and so
So it
uh,
was set. Your path was set before you.
and yeah, I think um I have the last name Smith, and so they wanted to create unique middle name
Mm,
for each of us,
right.
and somehow yeah, that my youngest brother is a geologist, but his middle name was Beaumont, which means big mountain, strength of the earth. And so it's just very confusing. But what I'd say is travel for me, uh, when I was growing up, travel was work for my parents. They were
Mm,
artists and they would travel to different art shows and they made pottery. And so it was very much a festival type
hmm
experience. Um, and uh, work. They were
hmm
there, selling in a marketplace, and so I got to see different cities on the West Coast
hmm
primarily.
hmm
My first international experience was because a family friend invited me to go to Mexico for spring break, and I was in high school.
Yay, spring
And,
break, Mexico.
so my and right, and so that was I spoke Spanish, and that was my first time in like this kind of big hotel, lots of food, tropical.
hmm
Um, it there was a not much culture.
Right, right. Yeah.
It was a
A West Light version of it.
yeah, a big all-inclusive
Yeah.
resort. But again, it was like, huh, there's
hmm
this. And then the next travel experience that I really had was I did a study abroad in Europe. So I did some time in Vienna for
Mm.
university, and I was able to backpack around and see different places. And it
Yes.
was really
Yeah.
helpful. Um, and then really the third trip was the one that set me on my professional course today. I had no plans. I had a backpack full of books, and me and a friend um, went to Oaxaca, Mexico, and then moved south and just went place to place. And
hmm
I was reading and experiencing the world, and I just got into various conversations along the way and eventually got hired by someone and learned a little bit about the travel business.
hmm
And I mean, there were just so many different serendipity encounters, but
Yeah.
the big one was I had decided I wanted to buy these websites, and I didn't know how. I didn't have any money. Uh, I knew I needed a technology partner. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone. And then all of a sudden, I'm on this aerial tram going through the rainforest, and this person across from me uh, asked me what I was up to. And I just decided to, why not, to share.
hmm Exactly.
And, and
You never know.
He is my business partner today, and that was
Mm,
almost 20 years ago.
right.
Uh, and so he was the perfect complement to what I needed. He had, um, you know, became a software engineer right out of high school and had built a small business and was interested in doing something international. And I basically, yeah, continued to communicate the vision that I had for what we wanted to accomplish. And we've continued to integrate and express our values and try to make travel the way it ought to be done, which is
Yeah.
personalized,
Hmm.
where the local communities are heavily involved and helping to design that visitor's trip. And then upon arriving to that geography, you are in the same time zone,
Mm,
same relative space as that supportive trip designer.
hmm.
So we think of ourselves more of a trust network than
Hmm.
travel agency or a travel company.
Right, right.
So everything kind of is this organized platform to, get exactly what you want and experience the geography the way it was meant to be experienced.
Exactly. And I think that is so important. I've actually got to introduce you to a lovely young lady who lives in Australia, but she's Italian descent.
Uh-huh.
And her nonas, grandmas are there.
Oh, yeah.
And what she did, her original hometown, parents' hometown, is a small place in Italy, so they don't get a lot of tourists. So what
Mhm.
she has set up is people can go into people's homes and learn to make cheese or learn to make wine or learn to make this and that and have that experience. And
Yeah.
then she's also set up nonas in their own language doing traditional recipes and you can follow along. And it's like keeping the culture alive. And that I feel is what we're losing so much, is so much of the beautiful. Yes, we're all ascending to a different platform. Each generation brings something else, but let's not forget the roots. Let's not
Absolutely.
forget the traditions that have stood the time for thousands of years, that are a good foundation to springboard from. And I feel a lot of people, especially youth today, as I put out a book last year, Our Forgotten Children, which is really on the raising of our children and what we're doing wrong.
Mhm.
And we're raising kids that are lost. They're not connected and they don't feel any connection out there. And I think if they did understand the roots and the culture and can immerse themselves into something meaningful, they could take that meaningfulness into their life. It becomes that compass for them, doesn't it? So, this is, I think, important that people don't just resort travel, but,
Oh,
go and immerse themselves into a culture and experience the culture
yeah.
because it becomes part of their building blocks.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, one of the primary motivators that I've always had, and um, I just, I've always felt that perspective generating experiences,
Hmm.
particularly when it comes to cross-cultural perspective generating experiences, really enable you to understand there is no other.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. There's
there is
different
there's
flavor life box of
different
chocolates, right?
different flavors, different
Yeah.
expressions, but with the same intentions of really, peace,
Yeah.
community, family,
Hmm.
and
Love.
again, right, and that, yeah, cherishing nature. Yeah,
Mm.
these are human things.
Yes.
Uh, and that the more perspective generating experiences you have, it creates a more peaceful world
Yeah.
because you have a shared understanding. There is less of a triggering aspect that comes from
Mm.
the big headlines or narratives
Yes.
that show up and, fear, danger, warnings.
Fear of differences.
Um,
Yes.
and
Mm.
so the on the ground experience, those
Hmm.
primary experiences that can stick with you, I think are invaluable
Yeah.
to really grow into that understanding that fear is a product being sold.
Oh, stop buying it, please. Yes. Yeah. It keeps people in control,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You know, the reason why people stir up and create so much fear out of there is that I now have you in control. You're so fearful, I can puppeteer you and do anything I want. And
Yeah.
so, you know, this is why we need to have those experiences so that we know our core foundation and ownership of self and know what to respond to in our way, not a way that's been dictated by fear, because I'm not going to give anybody any strings.
Yeah. Well, when you have, the fear hormone of cortisol
Yeah,
coursing through your body, you can't make
no, no clarity.
good
No,
decisions. You
no,
can't be clear.
no.
So it's fundamental to try to, eliminate as many of those triggering
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, things that show up, or try to break patterns. If
Yes,
that anxiety starts to show up, well, that's a sign that you need to work through it, I think.
yes,
Um,
yes.
but I don't want to shoot on how people should get to that point, but
I've got
I
plenty of shows on that. You need the help to get through that. We've got plenty of people for you. But the travel,
yeah,
also the experience of the travel, the immersing in other cultures, I,
yeah,
realize, well, why am I carrying this anxiety? And and I've got a motto with fear. There's fear. Don't put your hand in the fire. Don't walk in front of a bus. Don't walk
mhm,
down a dark alley at night. Right? Trust your instincts. Right?
yeah,
There's the common sense fear. Have it travel with you, but open the door of curiosity
yeah,
and wonderment. But take the common sense fear with you. It will be there to protect you. Listen to it, pay attention, but don't let it be in the driver's seat.
that's right. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah,
But what we're looking at, especially in North America right now, is that everything is stir it up, stir it up, stir it up, hysteria, hysteria, hysteria. I guarantee you, everybody will tell you that's been down this path. No clarity, no thought of how to escape, no thought, no breath can
mhm,
happen in that fear state.
yeah,
And, even just taking the deep breaths and trying to recenter. Clarity doesn't happen when you're crunched. Clarity happens when you are aligned and you open up and allow it to go through you. Then you can see what you need to be fearful of. Now, you can be very, very aware of danger,
yes,
right? That's being aware of danger, but don't put yourself in the fear of it until that danger is upon you. But it is like, oh, I'm very fearful, but it's happening over there. It's not happening to you. So what do you do to make sure that it doesn't happen to you? So step into awareness and step into reasoning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, it's meant to be lived.
Yes.
Yeah, and so,
How do we know what the experiences are or the emotions are if we're not willing to go through them?
uh, well, yeah. I mean, it's just a twisted mess of things that can be in
Yeah.
people's minds that, uh, yeah, just it's like a veil
Mm,
that is, it's very real, but it's just it's hard to know exactly what combination of changes will be the thing to unlock, that veil. So I mean, again, it's so hard. I think everyone that this is why there's certain um, relationships that I've known and people that I've really cared for. And maybe they're going through something really hard. Maybe there's an addiction cycle. Maybe
yeah.
there's bad habits. You see these habits from the outside, and you might be able to nudge them along
Hmm.
and express, true empathy. But
No.
you can't tell them, hey, this is the thing
Hmm.
that was going to, transform, your emotions or the way that you see the world. Everyone has to go on that
Yes.
deeper inner journey in order to figure out what combination of habits and practices works for them. And
Back to the awareness again, right? You know,
Yeah.
you can't help someone until they're aware they're actually in trouble. There's that free will of them saying, I need help, I need guidance. I
Yeah.
call that the sunny side of the street. And
Yeah.
the sunny side of the street, and I've worked hard to be on that sunny side of the street. And so, I'll put it in dimensional terms. So fifth dimension, sunny side of the street, enlightenment, awareness,
Mhm.
knowing who you are and what you care to do. The fourth dimension, the road that you step onto, in willingness to learn.
Yeah.
But the third dimension is still in anger and hate and pain and despair. And you can't go into the darkness to try and pull people out because it will consume you. You'll lose
Yeah.
your light. But it has to be, they see the light and they have to, out of free will, want to walk towards it. So seeing take a horse to water, you can't make it drink, leave it there long enough and it's going to realize it's thirsty. So it's like, let them see that light. And then at some point, it is their choice, their human choice to walk towards it. And only when they're willing to walk towards it are you able to enable them through your skills and your tools and your support that they need to apply, that they can then walk down that road of enlightenment. But it has to be their choice, and you can't help people until they make that choice.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've tried. I know.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I think for all the people that I've interviewed through the years, I've been doing this 13 years, so I've interviewed a lot of people that have come out of addiction.
Mhm.
Um, and they or struggles, trauma, addiction, whatever's happened to them. And all of them have said there was a certain breaking point,
Yeah.
and
Right.
or a certain person they met at the right time
Hmm.
that they were ready to receive.
Yeah.
And then they started that journey of self-discovery and recovery, and go on that path. But you never know when that beacon of light is going to hit them. And but when it does, it's that serendipity, right time, right person there at the right time with the right tools to enable them to move forward. You can't force it; it just is an alignment.
Yeah. And that gives, I think, it gives me peace of mind,
Mm,
because then you realize, well, what power do you have?
mm,
You have the power to um, be your best version of yourself.
yes.
Have the power to be that, symbol and live your values.
Mhm.
And if other people don't notice, or they
They're not
don't
ready to
care,
see.
or it doesn't, then it's
Brush it
okay.
off. It's okay. Yeah, exactly. Don't sweat it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
see, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and somebody's tongue drop a cup of black coffee,
Hmm.
and it's like if there is no one size fits all. And it's on your journey of life, you find your vibe tribe.
Your
Those
vibe.
people that you're working on the same frequency, the same wavelength. And it's like, don't sweat the people that don't see you. Do not judge yourself by how others see you. Um, because if they don't get you, they're just not ready to get you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And yeah, like I think having grace and patience
Mhm.
with yourself, whatever stage you find yourself in, is fundamental, I think.
Absolutely. Stop beating yourself up. The world will do that for you if you let it. Right? So you don't need to go whipping yourself, folks. Put it down, put the whip down, and start giving yourself some self-love and self-care.
Mm.
I recently was in a book about I'm not selfish, I'm just not easily manipulated. And in my generation, for us to start doing self-awareness and self-care was considered selfish. And now we're beginning to understand you placing the importance of, not self-importance, that's narcissism, but the importance of self
That's
in
right.
your own awareness, your own healing, your own nurturing of yourself, of what you need to be the best that you need to be, is not being selfish. It's imperative that you are,
Mhm.
because you're a contributor to this world. We're all here as contributors, and we want you to contribute the best version of yourself. So, therefore, you taking care of yourself is imperative so that we do get the best from you.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a a lesson that can be very hard to learn. And again, as a parent, as someone
Mm,
who has a wonderful wife, but it's still hard to live in, perfect harmony with your partner forever.
yes.
Some
Not
days it
every
is,
dance
some
is going to
days
be
it's not,
perfect, right? Exactly.
sometimes the emotions of the 4.5-year-old just
Oh,
amplify
yeah.
across the whole,
Oh, yes. I've got a
household. And
4-year-old grandson, 2-year-old grandson, and another one on the way. Believe me, I know. And I had three of my own. So, yes, those 4-year-old tantrums.
yeah, yeah, and again, just trying to use it as an active meditation that
Mm,
this is not generating a stress response. This is
right,
just another little test that's showing up today.
right. And it's the fine line of showing them boundaries, but
Mhm,
also learning to breathe,
mhm,
how to handle their stress, handle their tantrums, okay, let it out.
mhm.
What way do you want to let it out? Now take a breath, let's recenter ourselves. But sometimes they need to go through the emotion. But
Yeah.
it's also, if you don't give them a sense of boundary, then it automatically becomes a manipulation because that's what children do. That's innate in the thing. So it's like the boundary and at the same time the nurturing. It's okay to have this tantrum, get it, let it go through his system. Now take a
Mhm.
deep breath. Are you okay? Right. And make sure that it doesn't become a tool because they're very good at
They,
that.
they are. They are manipulation machines for sure.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
selfish little creatures,
And
but
that's part of their own self-discovery. It's all about them, right?
yeah.
And having done many shows on narcissism, when narcissism happens is when children, especially between the ages of like 3 and 7,
Mhm.
don't learn compassion or sharing,
Yeah.
consideration. And, those three things are so important because when they learn to share and have compassion over others and be considerate that it's not all about them, they're learning that their world is integrative and not all about them. And where narcissism starts is when children begin to manipulate to get their own way because they don't feel seen and heard. And it's all about them. They haven't learned to be compassionate, considerate, and loving towards others. So it's a very fine window there that unfortunately we do have a lot more narcissistic people because you know that window that was not seen, and there was a generation of no, just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And so we've got to pull the reins back a little bit, just a little bit. So let's talk about your travel. And as you said, it's unique, it's different. So you've got all sorts here. You ask people about their vision, the collaboration, where they want to relax, so you can plan the adventure for them. So how does that work? And what is the process that people go through with you?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, it all started with, hey, I don't want people, um, when they're actually in the trip, actually in the country, to feel like they're constrained by the product they purchased.
Mm,
So I always wanted to move it to, what is your intention? What is your vision for this trip? This is a big family trip you're going on, or this is an important milestone in your marriage. How do you envision this time to be spent?
mm,
And and so when we can get the client to share some of their vision, we become the best matchmaker.
yeah, yeah.
And and the way in which we matchmake is we work with um, any type of budget pretty much. I mean, except for like, really budget oriented people. But, meaning that with certain constraints around budget and constraints around, hey, what your preference is, how quickly you want, how often you want to move around the country, or if you just want to see 2 or 3 places, we adapt that itinerary to each client. And
Mm,
And again, that becomes almost a conversation. So
Mm.
um, Peru, if you're going to a trip to Peru, you're going to be communicating with a Peruvian expert with 20
Hmm.
plus years of experience managing everything in that country, having all the connections. If you're going to Vietnam, you're going to be communicating with a Vietnamese person that is extremely knowledgeable about their geography.
Right.
And so that itinerary becomes that process by which you get into the day by day how you're going to spend the time in the country. So
Mm.
again, it's all online
Hmm.
and Zoom or voice calls if necessary. We really try to meet the client where they're at and just be a trusted source for them to get the sort of trip they want.
And you've got Costa Rica, Peru, Ecuador, Belize, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Guatemala, Indonesia, Panama, and a lot of these places, it's good to have somebody that you've trusted, tried and true, where I can explore, I can immerse myself, but I'm also in safe hands.
Yeah.
Right. My daughter is a traveler and she'll just book and she goes off and does her own things. And it's like, yeah, then I hear about the crime and I hear about this and that. And it's like I'm white lighting her like crazy. And
Yeah.
she's just been very, very fortunate. But for a lot of people, I want to explore these countries. I don't speak the language. How safe is it?
Mhm.
And having somebody there that it knows, I can help show you the culture. I can immerse you into the culture safely. And that's something that's really very important in today's travel, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, we are intentionally um, going into geographies where it is very helpful to have a plan.
Yeah.
Um, but they're also some of the most interesting places
Yes.
in the world, and with wonderful people that want to share and host you
Hmm.
in a way that is gonna make you feel present, connected, and hopefully with some gratitude.
Mm.
Um, and again, for us, it's all about um, allowing people to feel like they can stay in the present moment,
Hmm.
don't need to worry about the point-to-point
Yeah.
transportation or what's going to happen next. They're part of a flow from arrival to departure that was a collaborative design process where their interests and their desires are accounted for and absorbed into a real life experience. So
Right.
oftentimes, a client will there'll be a family trip for 10 or 12 days, and they'll they'll be actually supporting maybe 15 or 16 different businesses
Exactly.
through our network.
Right.
Um, they're everyone is expecting them.
Hmm.
They're not having to coordinate a bunch of things on their phone. The only thing that they need to do is, hey, if someone, doesn't feel well or gets sick or the weather's really bad, all that we're gonna adapt
Yeah.
real time to support them. Because
Right.
again, I think what I talked about earlier is stress and
Mm.
travel are too often um, intertwined,
Oh, I
especially
know.
especially when it comes to um, moving around the country versus,
Right.
hey, I just showed up at a place and I'm relaxing.
Hmm.
More what I'm speaking to is someone that wants to explore. Well,
Hmm.
now all of a sudden I want to explore, but that seems like I'm having to take on a lot of stress and
Right.
pressure to make that happen. So my loved one thinks this is a good idea, or so
Hmm.
not pulling our hair out. And so again, our goal is to never pass stress to the client. Uh, we don't pass stress to our suppliers. In our teams, we're not passing stress. We're solutions oriented. We're listeners,
Right.
and
Right.
and we adapt because it's our duty to be accountable for that client experience.
And you want people to come away with something feeling that they've had an experience that is life-changing, because really that's what it's about. It's that life-changing, and you want someone to have that.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, then it like, it feels like, that, it was a great trip, but you want people to have that journey that becomes transformational, and make them even want to explore even more, because as they're exploring other cultures, they're exploring themselves at the same time. And you do want to be in certain of these countries. I had someone on recently that wanted to go and see the Mayan ruins, and a cab picked her up, but he took the wrong road and ended up in Guatemala when it was at the height of its terrorism there. And
Mhm.
they took them out of the taxi cab and were going to shoot them, and she kind of went ninja on them, and they managed to escape. So that obviously is a country now that's being transformed, and they need people to go to them and help restore and give them their lives back. So you're supporting them on that journey, but if there's still also that safety factor that you want to have, that you aren't going places that you shouldn't be going, and that you are supporting cultures that have been through a great deal and that need that support to rebuild their own lives.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Tourism in general um, provides a lot of liquidity, a lot of
Hmm.
um, income, and when it's done the right way, it helps sustain the culture. It helps sustain the community's way of life, and
Yeah.
so it's a balancing act.
Yes.
Like most of things in nature is, in my opinion, I want to help pursue that balanced approach
Yeah.
rather than just a scaled approach of just, hey, I'm just selling products. I'm just getting people on tour
Right.
buses, and they're just
Yeah.
zipping
Yeah.
around and no one's happy. So
No one's having an experience.
yeah, so
Yeah.
again, it runs a little deeper, and
Yeah.
to your point, really one of the big goals is for people to feel more confident
Yeah.
uh, in the world and to go explore the world. Um, and whether it's with us or whether it's someone else, uh,
Mm.
but just to do it in a way where they're navigating, they're
Mm.
moving through this world with peace of mind. Because
Yes.
the more that we can do that, we show that this is a peaceful planet.
And
This,
that's something we don't see the emphasis on. We see the emphasis on all the cruelty and the crime. But if you looked at the scale of things, that is that percentage. It's actually quite small, but that's what's in the media. There's
yeah,
all the other percentage where people can't wait to embrace you, can't wait to share with you,
yeah.
can't wait to pick you up and support you. And if we actually brought that more to the forefront,
Mhm.
and less on the other. I mean, that doesn't mean we dismiss the other. We're aware and we stand up and we support,
Mhm.
victims of. But at the same time, why are we not showing the goodness of our heart and the
Yeah.
goodness of culture? And the more we see that, the more we want to be a part of that rather than that. So I think we don't see that enough. And I think people, as I said, kid coming out of school, go on an experience,
Yeah.
go and have a different culture. I
Mhm.
mean, how many people in North America, especially, never leave their town,
Yeah.
and they think it's all about their town, their country, their everything else. They're superior, but you haven't been anywhere to compare. You haven't
Yeah.
been anywhere to experience.
Yeah.
How do you even understand the immigrant that has left their home to come to start again? Why don't you talk to them about the culture they left behind or the culture they're still trying to keep alive? And I think this is so important that, curiosity stay alive, wonderment stay alive, exploration,
Yes.
and go and see the world. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
I don't get to travel anymore. I'm grandma, I'm here with the kids, etc. And it's a little harder for me nowadays. But when I went and traveled 20 to 22, 23, it changed my life. It defined my life. And
Mhm.
it gave me a confidence in things that I faced and did that I
Mhm.
never knew I could do.
Right.
And, just please get out there, folks. Go and experience it. And I love the way you're doing it. As with others, it's you're tailoring it to the experience they want.
Mhm.
But once they've experienced one country, God, that was great. How about Belize now?
Mhm.
How about Peru now? Can I climb that mountain?
Mhm.
And it becomes something that they become hungry for to have another experience. But having taken care of everything for them in a way of safety,
Mhm.
the planning of it, they can immerse themselves into the experience in the now. And
That's it.
that's important.
Yeah, that's right. And it is about them being present
Yeah.
while exploring these unfamiliar and interesting places. And um, yeah, I mean, I certainly um, realize that it's a journey. Even this business, we're trying to um, utilize the different actors as best we can.
Hmm.
We have partners in each geography. We have wonderful suppliers in each
Hmm.
geography. We have customers that have had amazing experiences with us. Um, and rather than trying to get big fast with the
Mm.
help of industrial capital or firms, which I've been approached many times by. Um, I want it to be a natural process.
Yeah.
So as people, again, maybe learn about the story and the intention behind um, what has been almost a 20-year journey,
Mm.
I hope that they can understand at least some of the uh, reasons why we're not a household name at this point. And
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
There's something about kind of being the big brand that kind of loses, and people go to that because it's got the shiny.
yeah.
And you're a lot like me, we're kind of cottage industry in a sense, because, it's not for everybody. It's the people that are in this self-discovery. It's the people that do want to know more about themselves by through journeying through other people's cultures, are willing to learn. And
Mhm.
I have a motto with my shows: listen, learn, and apply.
Yeah, that's
So, your travels are that. Listen to the people of the culture, learn something from it. What can you apply in your own life, in
mhm.
your own self-discovery, that's going to make you the beautiful human being you are and come out with confidence?
Yeah, step by step.
Step by step, country by country. I'd love to go to Belize. My son and his wife went there for the honeymoon. My daughter and they went to Thailand,
Hmm.
with her husband for the honeymoon. My other daughter just travels over there on her own and explores, and she's been to a lot of these countries and is always looking for new adventures. So she will be getting the link to this show, uh, because she is a single woman, and sometimes it is a little difficult, for people out there when you are single and you are a woman, and there's she's run into many a time where the travel thing hasn't aligned properly, and
Right.
she's run into stress and misconnections, or you know
Yeah.
got taken where she shouldn't have been taken. And so having somebody take care of all of that so you can just enjoy and be present and savor and devour, and
Mhm.
then let it sit with you, and kind of discover how you feel about it,
Yeah.
journal about it. It's a wonderful experience. I wish you were around when I was young.
Yeah, I mean, and you brought up an interesting point. Eh, we're really not trying to tempt people to escape
Mm,
their life.
no,
We're real, we go when you're ready.
yeah,
You know, that's that's
you're the
cr-
sunny side of the street.
yeah, go,
Yeah.
and again, yeah, hopefully that, you integrate back into, your day-to-day life with,
Yes.
a little bit of a yeah, just a deeper color of
Yeah,
the world. You
different
understand?
flavor of life,
Yeah,
etc.
that's
You
right.
can't help but take some of it back with you.
Yeah.
Right. And it isn't about, I went to an all thing resort, I had fun, come back, and now I've forgotten about it. I went on a trip to Mexico to Puerto Vallarta, but into like a timeshare apartment.
Hmm.
And we were on the ninth floor. So literally water, sky. That's all we saw
Hmm.
out of the thing. The window was open the entire time there. And
Hmm.
I remember going on one bus up to a restaurant and realized the bus had bullet holes all over it, you know.
Wow.
and but it was kind of the experiencing. We had more of the experience of, the town and the city rather than being in a resort where it's just, grandiose, but where's the experience? You're offering people an experience. And what is life about? But multiple experiences in your beautiful book of life. Fill those pages with
Yeah.
experience, with wonderment, with exploration and self-discovery, because that's what you're offering. You're offering people self-discovery.
Yeah. Well, that's the intention. And I got to be patient with that process and stick to the values and
Yes.
keep keep working. Yeah.
Now you offering a free giveaway of $100 travel credit, a referral link, and it is going to HTTPS and www.anywhere.com/self-discovery wisdom. So if you've listened to this show and you want to do that, then please do reach out and you get a $100 voucher. For how many people will you give this away to? The first how many?
Uh, we will give that to anyone who listens. There is no limit on that. We are, happy to support people looking to have a very unique and customized journey as they decide which countries make sense for them. We're here to help, and we have a number of other geographies we're actively developing at this time, um, including Morocco, Mexico,
Mm,
uh, even France, actually. France is an extremely well-traveled
yes,
country, but there are regions of that country that are absolutely amazing.
yes.
And they're
Look at Italy too, one of my
yeah,
favorite
and so
countries.
the the big thing for us is uh, the local supplier
Yeah.
network.
Hmm.
And we're not a mass travel company. We never want to be
Right.
selling the
You
generic item.
specialize, you customize.
Yeah. So it's we hope to again support the communities that are hosting visitors
Yes.
and giving them that deeper perspective. Um, and of course, a good time, a comfortable bed, and all
Mm,
necessary things to feel good. But
yeah.
again, just we don't want to put you in crowds. That's not the sort of
Right.
travel that we ever intended to create, and we're going to stick with that promise. Believe me.
Well, I love the name of the site, anywhere.com. And your email, absolutely precious, B, just the letter B at anywhere.com, which is perfect. And of
Yeah.
course, people can find you at anywhere, LinkedIn, anywhere in CCEO and Instagram anywhere. So, but please go to their site, anywhere.com, because you'll see for yourself, all the countries and, all the places. And you may go, well, I'm not sure which country I want to go to. Maybe I'm a beginner and I'm
Mhm.
not sure which country to go to. Well, that's what you do. You design. What are you looking for? Which country may be right for you for the first one?
Right.
How much are you wanting to experience? So, maybe start with this country and then later on you could do that country. And, you take the time to kind of match where people are at and the
Mhm.
experience that they're looking for. Not many people do that. It's just all about the sale. And for you, it's about the experience. The experience comes first. And
Yeah.
that wonderful self discovery that they will have at the end of it, which is wonderful. So please stay. customized, not commercialized, specialty, because I think in the end, you're going to get the right people going to the right places rather than, people just looking for something that is not what you offer. It's for, again, for the people that are embracing the sunny side of the street and they want that experience. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Zach. It's been wonderful speaking to you. I love your whole journey. You've allowed life to show you the path, and you've allowed life to take you down paths that you perhaps wouldn't have chosen for yourself. But you've allowed your experiences and where they've led you. And I just love the serendipitous of your life. Yes, your wife partner, your business partner, just everything falling into place, even your middle name. So, and that is, so many people they don't allow. And, when we allow, we see. And if we don't allow them, all we're doing is chasing some illusion. So we want people to see what's in front of them. So thank you so much for sharing here today. This has been absolutely delightful.
Total pleasure, Sarah. And again, thank you for your expression and the work that you do. I think it's very important.
We're
Thank
both specialty people, right? It's for the people that are ready to
you.
listen, learn, and apply. Go out and experience life, experience other cultures. There's so much you're going to learn about yourself in doing so. It is an incredible experience that will go with you for the rest of your life and make you want to go out and do some more. So thank you, Zach. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.